This episode is sponsored by MJ's Progress Not Perfection Meeting Center Association. We are in our meeting center where we do all these meetings for mental health and addiction. I can do this podcast anywhere. I can do this at home. I can do this in a closet. I can do this in a basement. It doesn't matter. All I need is somebody else to talk to about addiction and recovery. What I can't do from anywhere is help people with their addiction and their mental health problems. So if you can help out, we do have a Venmo, we have a Cash App, we have a PayPal, we have an address you can send a check to, and all the money that gets donated goes towards rent, goes towards keeping the lights on, and goes towards keeping the internet on. So please, if you can give $5, $10, $20, it doesn't matter. Anything you can is so appreciated. And if you are a local business, if you're a national business, whatever, and you want to be a part of what we're doing, you can reach out to me and we can talk about how you can be a sponsor. But I'll let you get back to the episode.
We can even get started now because we're already talking about it. When did you start? You've been sober since, usually I don't know this answer, but I saw your shit October of last year, right?
Correct.
You got a little over a year now. So, which congrats on that, bro. That's fucking, I know how hard that first year is. Especially because you're back in your old stomping grounds. Like you're in Jersey where you used to run around. When in your recovery, because you started your recovery October 2000, I don't know about your other ones. We'll get to that. But when you started this recovery, when did you start making memes and shit? Because your Instagram, obviously blew up at some point. You got 13,000. That's fucking awesome. So, I figure you had to have had something blow up along the way. When did you start making content for being in recovery?
So basically when I first went to treatment, I was 26 years old. It was in 2014 and I got out of a 45-day program and I went to a halfway house for a couple months. And then from there, I took the suggestion to move into an Oxford house, and it was right in Magnolia, right by, by Audubon, right by Camden, basically. And I move in there and it was a solid group of guys. We were all younger. And from day one, my buddy added me to this Facebook group and they made crude and dark humor memes. And a lot of them were drug related. And it just really resonated with me. It was something to laugh at. So you could poke fun at bad things that happened in our lives, stuff related to drug use and recovery and stuff. And it was a big Facebook group. It was called Jesus Died for Our Memes, right? And
great fucking name.
Yeah, we really liked it. It eventually got shut down, obviously, due to Facebook's how they delete things.
Yeah.
And after that, I would toyed around maybe after I had a year clean that time. And I would make these little pictures with captions and stuff, the impact font, the real old style memes. And they were funny. And, just a bunch of my friends, we would send them to each other. We didn't post them anywhere. And then I had, through just knowing people through Facebook, I got added to this group chat with people who were actual creators. And it was really, most people know them larger meme pages related to recovery. And I had posted some of my memes in there and they were all dude, these are trash. These are terrible. They basically kicked me out of the group. And my one friend, Nick, who's now one of my best friends, he had a couple years clean at the time. And he DM'd me and we started talking and he was basically giving me pointers and saying, try and use this font. It's not as abrasive, try and use different types of apps and stuff like that. And his page is called Dark Side Spoon. And
I've seen his post through you. Yeah, you share his shit a lot.
Yeah, I share his and he shares mine.
So you guys just collabed with a bunch of videos, right?
Yeah, I drove. Yeah, I actually drove down. He lived in Potomac, Maryland, outside DC, and I drove down there for a weekend. We made a bunch of videos.
You'll have to drive up here sometime then too. We'll have to fuck around because I'm not that far the other direction.
Yeah. Dude, that's something related to recovery. I used to drive around to meetings, we'd go to speaker jams, we'd go, out of area meetings. So this is kind of the same type of fellowshipping for me.
And it's that's what it is too. It's proven that, and I know we're both into programs and working programs. We've kind of talked about that. I think the steps have been amazing for me. I use the steps daily still to this day. But also, TikTok is there all day. That kind of recovery support is there all day. If you're feeling down, you can hop on there and start getting some messages without getting into your car and going to a meeting. And
Yeah.
people don't realize how important that can be sometimes to get you out of your head, because as addicts, that's where we're fucking stuck when we're not talking. Let's be real. If we're not talking out loud, we're stuck in our head most of the time and trying to process shit in our minds. That's why we always got high, was to escape what was going on in our heads, you know? And I'm talking for myself, but I know a lot of people can relate, you know, to me saying that, including yourself, because you're like, yeah, man, that's me.
Yeah.
You know, and especially, you know, people don't realize, I've talked to people from Jersey, but like growing up in our type of area, you know, with small towns, everyone knows everyone. You get arrested, the entire town fucking knows about it, even if you haven't talked to anybody in years,
Right.
you know. And we don't even have to get into where we grew up exactly, but I've talked about it. We're not that far. We're a couple miles from each other,
Yeah.
and we didn't know each other. That's hilarious. You know, you're the second person, third, that I've found in random places on social media to do my show that lived within miles of me, and I had no idea who they were, and we were using at the same time, the same drugs at the same time.
Yeah.
And except for one dude, though, the one dude I talked to, he was on my show last week, and he graduated from my high school, but in 1969.
Oh, wow.
So, like,
Found
you
an
know,
old head.
yeah, yeah, definitely found an old timer, and he left AA, and now he does podcasts trashing AA. So, you know, I did his podcast, but we didn't trash it because I run AA meetings. So we talked about why I left my old group, because to me, AA and NA, there's great fellowships and then there's shitty ones, you
Yeah.
know, and then the shitty ones can give people bad impressions on what the program actually is. But either way, when did you get into, because like I found drinking at 11, you know, because in Jersey we walk around towns, we start drinking early. I feel like we go to woods, basements. When did
Yep.
you start?
Well, actually, I'm a little different from my friend group. I mean, so it's me and my brother. My brother's 2.5 years younger than me. And, you know, he started drinking and smoking weed at an early age. But for me, I got into music really heavily, right? And when I was growing up, you know, after school, like my parents paid for private art lessons and private music lessons for me, you know, starting in elementary school. So I
Mm-hmm.
got really into being creative and things like that. And then after middle school, I joined a band with a couple friends. I played bass guitar, and you know,
What kind of music?
so we went from in like, you know,
It,
ninth grade.
in Jersey in ninth grade, because we're the same age. We've talked about that like
Yeah,
somewhere else. We're both 35. In Jersey in ninth grade, my first guess is you were in a pop punk band.
yeah. We covered Blink 182. We covered like some 41, Good Charlotte, stuff
Yep.
like that.
Yep. I probably saw
And
you
then
in some random garage or basement for all I fucking know.
yeah, well, that band probably not, but after like probably 10th grade, we started to listen to a little more harder stuff, a little more metal, and we actually formed a straight edge hardcore band. So I was like,
You were in
uh,
a straight edge hardcore band in high school?
yes.
Damn.
So, you know, I took like Sharpies and drew like X's on my hands, which meant like, you know,
Yeah.
straight edge. No, I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. And it
As you're
was,
ripping nicotine now with
yeah, like I'm hitting a fucking vape.
we're on a
Like this is,
recovery podcast talking about all of our drinking and drugging as you're ripping nicotine. Like, yeah, I was
yeah,
straight edge.
I just smoked a cigarette, like I'm drinking
Yeah.
an energy drink. Um, but yeah, I had a really closed-minded view. I really looked down upon people who did substances like that, especially my peers in school. And I had this like elitist view of myself because I didn't do those things, right? And I still would go to like house parties and see people getting drunk and losing their inhibitions. And like I, it started to turn from like looking down on those people to like looking at the guys I knew who were shy and were drinking and then going up to girls and then going to like bedrooms and parties with the girls and able to talk to them. And um I was extroverted with people I knew and trusted and family, but when it came to like girls or people I didn't know, I was very shy, right? So eventually, maybe around once I was like late 17, 18 years old, my senior year, I'd started to drink. And once I found that and I was able to talk to people, like it was a wrap from there. So I drank um, at parties, but I smoked weed pretty much every day of my senior year up until I was about 23. And then that's when I was at work one day hungover, and a girl was like, "Hey, take this, it'll help your hangover." And it was like a school bus. It was like a little perk 10.
Yeah, I
And
fucking
I ate
love
it.
that we're talking just because you said school bus. So I talked to this dude yesterday from Philly, and he said a bus. Now I've talked to so many people on this show, right? Like there's been like 60 episodes out now, and I mentioned school buses and bananas to people, and they don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah,
And the dude yesterday was like, "Oh yeah, I picked up some buses," and I started cracking up because that is definitely an our area thing that
yeah,
we called them so far that I found. And I've asked a lot of people. School buses were the fat ones, and banana were the skinny tens.
yeah. And the
Yeah,
Percocet brand.
and the
Yeah,
Percocets. Yes, it's very important to know. They the 10/325s or whatever the fuck. It's been years, and I still remember that fucking shit.
yeah.
Like, you know, how many times do you like Google imprints and you know what I mean? Like you're Googling like the imprint, the circle, and the color to see like the pill identifier to make
Yeah,
sure
to
that you
see
got a
what it
real
was.
Roxy and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going
Uh,
on. I'm like, Watson 725. What does this mean? Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a 7.5.
All
All
right,
right.
I'll take it. Yeah, let me just
Yeah,
swell this on down. So yeah, but it's ironic though because the buses were the first thing that like got me too,
yeah.
and two school buses, and I still never been that high, you know, to this day. And it was October 2008. It was like the Phillies were about to go into the World Series. I was just turned 22, and I went hard drinking 21. You know what I mean? Like 5, 6 nights a week, I was at the bars. I
Yeah,
was even around your area all the time. You know how it is, like the theme nights. So
yeah.
Thursdays, I was at Adelphia's. You know what I mean? Or Hollywood Diner and the fucking that shit over
Oh,
there.
Wednesdays at
Wednesdays.
Adelphia's was
That's what
college
it
night.
was. That's what it
Yeah.
was. Wednesdays was Adelphia's. I think Thursdays was Hollywood, or I would go to Coastline and Cherry Hill on Thursday. I was going
Oh, yeah.
everywhere, bro. And then eventually, by 22, I was exhausted of drinking so much, and it wasn't working. And then someone's like, "Oh yeah, you going out?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm just gonna stay at home. It's a Friday night." And they're like, "Oh, I got some school buses for you, $10 a piece if you want them." And my
Yeah.
theory was, all right, I'll take two. You know, take two of anything. Just I'll take two. And I never was that high again a day in my life. Within weeks, I was sniffing 30s every day, you know, because I was so in love with that feeling. And I'm gonna ask now, how did you feel with that 110?
I mean, I was puking. I threw up in the bathroom at work, but then after that, it was like, I don't know. A lot of people talk about it, and it feels kind of corny when I hear other people say it, but like I'm sure you can relate. It was like I had arrived. Like I felt
Aha.
like, not to be like crude, but like my whole body was like nutting. Like I was like, dude,
Yep.
it was great. So then every day I was like, yo,
And
can I
that's the
have one of
people
them?
need, but people need to understand that though, because the non-addicts and non-alcoholics, the normies that watch or listen to this, like it is a big deal when that happens. It
Yeah,
is literally like I describe it as, you know, we get three loves in our life. That's my first love. That
yeah,
was a serious toxic relationship that I had for a decade, right? And toxic relationships are ones that we jump back into. We always had the relapses. We
yeah,
always find the good times, the excuse, the warm blanket, the way that they held me, the way that they looked at me. You don't know what it's like when we're alone, bro. No
yeah,
one, they don't tell me things I don't want to hear. You know, that was seriously a first love. And I had a breakup song, I had a breakup letter, and everything to that shit 3.5 years ago. I haven't touched them in I had a relapse with drinking, but I haven't touched pills in 3.5 years because that I am so afraid of that shit anymore.
yeah.
But for 10 years, that was the love of my life,
Well,
and
also for
you
people
know,
our age, man, like they were real back then. We didn't have fears of, you
I
know,
know, yeah.
whatever is in the pills nowadays too.
My fears and addiction weren't for overdosing. I was never afraid I was going to overdose and die. Because I honestly never did dope. I stuck with pills for 10 years because I loved them that much.
Yeah,
So I would spend more money to have pills every day for that long. I would figure it the fuck out. So they were going to be there. But the thing is, though, like, I knew what I was going to get every single time. I knew from my dealers. I knew the A's, what I was going to happen with them. I knew what's going to happen with the M's. I knew if I took V's, my face was going to get blotchy, but fuck it. I don't care. And I knew which ones were which. But now with the fentanyl, like, I don't know what's going to be in there. The only time I was ever afraid I was going to die in addiction was when I was shitting. And that is for real. Like
Yeah.
I did not want to be the fat fuck that died like Elvis on the toilet. And it scared the shit out of me every single week that I took my shit once a week, because that's how it is. You forget that you haven't shit in a week. And you're like, oh, this is going to be really bad. I got to sit down and see what happens. And then you sit down for 2 hours and you fucking push a softball out.
Yeah.
So, like, I was always afraid I was going to die taking a shit and be found on the toilet. But nowadays, I'm afraid I would die just from snorting one. Because I don't, I think I could spot a fake M box if I saw it, but I can't promise myself that.
Yeah.
Not right now. I have the choice, but if I get high again, I lose that choice, and I'm not.
Well, here's the other thing, right? If your recovery gets to a point where you feel like it's a good idea to do one more, and you're presented with a pill in your face, your convictions are going to be so low, or like you're not relying on your higher power. Like, I'm going to do it regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
By the time you seek that out and somebody's like, yeah, they're straight from the pharmacy, da da da. Oh yeah, it's crumbling because it was in my pocket. Like, I'm not gonna care. I'm gonna just do it and be like, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, like I've done worse.
Yeah.
So now you're 23. So we're at 2009.
Yeah.
Oxys are phasing out because they're just getting rid of by then. Roxy is through the roof, though. They're fucking everywhere in 2009. They were still $20 a pop then, too. So it depended on who you talk to. I got them for 20 a piece, and I resold them for 25. So, I was getting them. I got in early with some, like I said, like I said before with you, my two main dealers I had for 10 years. I only dealt with two guys, really. There was a third guy, and he was in Camden, and he would be at a bar in Camden during the day. He was an alcoholic who spent his day at the bar. So if you wanted shit during the day, you go to Camden and you see and you grab what you need and you get the fuck out of town. I drove an old cop car in Camden all the time.
Oh my
An
God.
unmarked cop car, and I'm in the middle of the day in the hood pulling up to a biker bar to meet this dude. And he passed away a couple of years ago from liver failure. He was an alcoholic. He drank every day at the bar and sold pills. That's what he did. But 23 was a rough time around 2009. Everything was crashing. No one had jobs. So like that was what were you doing when you found that now though? You were off?
Let me see. So 08 was the Phillies World Series. I was delivering pizza at a small pizza place. My pill usage was not crazy at the time. I mean, I would do them like on the weekends and, smoke during the week. And then 2010 is when it really started to take hold. I'd worked at a liquor store and there was another kid I linked up with, I became close with, and he did 30s. So I started doing them with him. And it really just started snowballing. I mean, we met people who were going to Florida and back once a week with, thousands of pills. So I was able to get them for $12, $13 a piece. And then I would just get as many as I could with my whole paycheck and then sell them to other people, for 20, 25. And that it's not like I really sold drugs. It's not like I was a kingpin. I was literally just supporting my addiction,
Yeah.
And I never really had thoughts of quitting until 2011. And my brother at the time was shooting dope and, doing a massive amount of cocaine. And I was living, it's weird because when I think back on my life and you ask me that question, like it's such a blur. Like I have to use things like, the World Series or like what job I was at.
Where was I living at the time?
Yeah.
Xanax fucked things up for me big time. And if it wasn't for me living all over the place, like I've had 30 different addresses since I graduated high school. So that's how I pinpoint shit now is where was I? That's always the first thought in my head. Where was I living then? And then I can get the year.
Yeah.
So no, I get it, man. I get it. So and yeah, your brother, which were you guys close? Like my brother and I were 3 years apart. You know, I'm older by 3 years, almost exactly 3 years. And we weren't close growing up. I literally just said this at I was his best man, you know, a couple weeks ago at his wedding. And I literally said in my speech, like, we were like Corey and Sean Matthews, you know, like we did not get along growing up. You know, we could not have butted heads more growing up, but we traveled together. We did shit together as a family, but we couldn't have been more different as people. And then in our 20s is when we became friends. You know, 25, my fiance committed suicide, and my brother and I moved to North Carolina on a whim. And I was trying to escape my head in 2015 and my addiction and her suicide. So I ran to North Carolina. He came with me. We had jobs, and we became best friends. But it took until our mid 20s for us to like become even friends and not just brothers, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, go
That's an
ahead.
interesting dynamic because we're pretty much the same ages apart. Um, but during that time, I mean, we did hang out. Like I would drive him to the city to get what he wanted, and I always worked. I always had a job. And at this point, I left the liquor store and I applied for a job at a company my mother used to work at. And they hired me into a middle management position. I had a great resume. Whether or not the things on the resume were legitimate is we won't get into that, but you know, they really gave me a shot and I had managed a department of like 24, 25 people. And I ended up, you know, connecting with the one other guy who did perks in the office. And so I'm getting high. My brother is doing whatever he did. He liked to, you know, support his addiction in different ways, you know, and we didn't really get along. It was more just like two people who were using together. And I looked at his addiction as he's a junkie. You know what I mean? Like I get what I need from people who get it from the doctor. So even though I'm not prescribed it, you know, I'm thinking, well, these are pharmaceuticals. He's doing street drugs. He has a problem. And it culminated when me and him decided to rob a family member. You know, we knew they weren't home. We broke into their house. We stole literally everything from them. And we didn't get caught for about a year. But then once our whole family found out what had happened, they came to me because they knew that I was messing up and I took the fall for it. And
Because you were the responsible one.
right.
In
So
their
they're like,
eyes. You know,
right.
I'm not to say your brother's not responsible, but I'm saying in their eyes, they see you as being the one with the job at all times that shows up and, you know, because if you're a junkie, like your brother was the junkie and you weren't, like you said, you know, then he would probably appear to be or not show up for family events a lot. And you would probably get a bunch of pills in you and show up high and sweating.
Yeah.
Because that's what I fucking did. I was showing up
Or
late,
do
high, and
enough
sweating.
so
Yeah.
that you weren't too sweaty, but you weren't sick. You know
But
what
that
I mean?
sweaty thing was a problem too, though. That sweaty thing that came on like with
This
the pills.
episode is sponsored by MJ's Progress Not Perfection Meeting Center Association. We are in our meeting center where we do all these meetings for mental health and addiction. I can do this podcast anywhere. I can do this at home. I can do this in a closet. I can do this in a basement. It doesn't matter. All I need is somebody else to talk to about addiction and recovery. What I can't do from anywhere is help people with their addiction and their mental health problems. So if you can help out, you know, we do have a Venmo, we have a Cash App, we have a PayPal, we have an address you can send a check to, and, you know, all the money that gets donated goes towards rent, goes towards keeping the lights on, and goes towards keeping the internet on. So please, you know, if you can give $5, $10, $20, it doesn't matter. Anything you can is so appreciated. And if you are a local business, if you're a national business, whatever, and you want to be a part of what we're doing, you know, you can reach out to me and we can talk about how you can be a sponsor. But I'll let you get back to the episode.
But yeah, the sweats that I would get. I remember the first time I ever performed stand up was at Helium in Philly in
I've been there.
the dead of winter, and it was my first time performing. I had walked from the speed line over there, so it's like a half-mile walk. It's not far. I'm a
Yeah.
big dude, yeah, but I walked up and I was pouring sweat because I was ripped out of my mind, right? So the doorman's like, "You gonna be okay to go on stage? Like, are you sick?" Like, He's like, no, I'm sweating from walking. He's like, it's 25 degrees out. Like, you shouldn't be sweating like that from walking in 25 degrees.
Yeah.
How long did you walk for? Like, from the speed line? Like,
But at least as big guys, like, we could at least say, like, look, man, like, I'm a bigger dude.
that's what it ended up being. It's like, what do you want me to tell you, man? I'm fucking fat. And he
Yeah.
started laughing. He goes, have a good night, buddy. Like, and then that was okay.
Yeah.
He was like, oh yeah, he is fat. Let him in.
That's
So
great.
that was my first time performing. I should have just told that story on stage, but I was, again, a junkie, but I wasn't accepting the fact that I was a junkie. I need this to get on stage so that I'm not curled over the fucking stool while I'm on stage because my stomach hurts so bad.
Yeah.
You know? So, but you guys, Rob, then was it possession stuff or money stuff?
Oh yeah, it was just money. It was an older family member, and I knew that they had a bunch of it might sound crazy, but to me, I knew that what it was worth, but it was a whole dining room set of silverware. It was sterling silver. It was really old, and I knew the scrap value for sterling was really high at the time. So we took all those, and we broke apart the walls with a sawzall and took copper out of the kitchen. And this was like a family member who was declining in health and was at a different family member's house. And it got to the point where I end up going to my family and telling them my brother's getting high, right? And we do an intervention on him. My parents sent him to California, to Passages, Malibu.
So you're getting high, and you're like, yo, bro's getting high though.
Yeah.
I'm taking the fall. I did it with him, but he's the one that needs help.
Yeah, it was one of the bigger regrets that I have, was throwing him under the bus. But looking back on it now, it's definitely like, I want to take all the spotlight off me and the bad things I'm doing. Look at how worse this person is.
And it could have saved his life.
Yeah, I mean, it could have, but he's been to, man, probably 30, 40 treatment centers, detoxes, stuff like that. And I just I was the son who didn't want anybody to know that I was using, right? So I tried to maintain the job. Like you said, I was the person who's, oh, he's always working, he's fine, he doesn't ask for money. And on the other side of the coin, he was somebody who was always, hey, can I please get like $100? Or, he'd do things where he'd come home to my parents' house and say like, oh, the dealer took my license and they're going to shoot up the house if you don't give me $400, like stuff like that. So everybody knew the extent of his addiction, and mine was a little more under the radar. So yeah. I just decided to eventually,
which is more dangerous. I don't want to interrupt,
yeah,
but
100%.
That's how mine was too. You and I have a lot in common. That's why I wanted to talk to you, because like I kept going for 10 years because no one was telling me not to. One time did they tell me to stop? It's because I got arrested. And besides that, no one was telling me to go to rehab because they didn't have to. I was showing up to work. My dad and my brother and I ran a plumbing company together. And not only did we run it together, I would overcompensate and work twice as more than them and give them days off so that I would feel better about always leaving to go get high. You know what I mean? Like I was trying to make up for the fact that I was a drug addict with them. And I'd be like, oh, I'll work Friday, or I'll take the phone calls, or I'll take the on-calls, and I'll do this and I'll do that, because I always felt bad. I was leaving at 1 p.m. 4 days a week to drive from Manheim, PA to, South Jersey, 2 hours each way to pick up pills and then drive back.
Yeah.
I did that 4 times a week for almost 3 years. So, but one girl beat me out though. You mentioned Florida.
Yeah.
There's one girl I talked to from Ohio. Her and her husband, 7 times a month for 5 years, 22 hours each way, Florida and back.
Yeah, driving.
Yep, they were accumulating 1,830s and 1,800 bars and 1,815s every single month between the two of them, hitting 7 different pill mills in Florida each month.
Yep.
Fucking crazy. She's like, yeah, we even had to rent a house eventually down there. We still didn't live in it, but we got everything changed over to the addresses so we could keep going. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So, whenever you're under the radar, it's almost more dangerous because we're like lying to ourselves because we're lying to everybody else. We
Yeah.
think we have this under control. And it sounds like you were doing the same thing I was, like, well, I'm not doing heroin, I'm just doing pills.
Yeah.
So this isn't that bad. I have this under control. If I do heroin, I'll lose control. But right now, I have this under control. You can't say shit to me. I'm showing up to work.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that only lasted for so long. I mean,
yeah.
you have this facade to everybody else, and you can feel it crumbling. You can feel the foundation of the life you're living crumbling under your feet. You know that everything that is going well in your life is predicated on 1,000 different decisions you have to make on a daily basis, right? In order to maintain that happy-go-lucky attitude that, oh, he's doing really well. And deep down, it's like, dude, I'm renting a room in a foreclosed home. Like, I'm barely showering at this point. Like, at one point, I was living in a friend's pool house, and I would just buy wet wipes and just wipe my whole body down with these wet wipes. And that was my shower. So it started to decline, and people started to ask questions like, what's going on? Um, and then after a certain point, I know a lot of people who have the same story where it's like, my brother had asked me, hey, can you drive me to Camden? I'll give you $50, right? And I was like, all right, I actually need that because I was out of perks. I didn't know anybody who had any at the time. And I was like, I'm going to be sick. So we drive to the city, and I see him getting like, 30, 40 bags of dope. And he's like, why don't I just give you 5 bags instead of $50? You won't be sick. And I'm like, dude, I don't like at the time, I didn't realize that basically all opiates are the same, right? And we had that elitist attitude, and I'm like, I don't fuck with that shit. And he's like, dude, you're about to get sick. And start sneezing, your nose starts running, you start feeling it all over your skin. So I'm like, all right, fine. So I take one, I dump out a whole bag, and I'm looking at it, and it's like nothing. And I'm like, dude, this is not going to do anything. At the time, I'm doing, 10, 15 Johns a day. That's another thing. Like when
You
you
said
talk about the
Johns.
school
Yeah,
buses, like
you said
from our
Johns.
area, that's all I've ever called them.
And what's funny is the dude from Philly yesterday that I talked to, he doesn't call them Johns in Philly.
Really?
It's our side of the bridge that calls them Johns.
What did he call them? Blues?
Blues. No. He called them 30s. He
Oh,
called he called footballs, and I know you know what I mean when I say footballs. He called footballs blues
yeah, the one
in
mil dude.
Philly. Yeah, well they are blue, but still there's a lot of fucking blue.
Yeah,
you know. So yeah, like it was weird. He goes, "Oh no, we called the Xanax blues." I'm like, "Footballs?" He was like, "Oh yeah, they are in the shape of a football." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what we called them."
yeah,
Um, so yeah,
football's a John.
Johns. That's hilarious because everyone calls everything a John in Philly. If you don't know anything, anything you're looking at could be a John.
Yeah.
However, 30s were Johns. Straight up, 30s were Johns. They probably still are. It got to the point where I called them J's. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
really?
Like I would text my dude like, "You got any J's?" Because I wouldn't want to say pills or blues or 30s or so I would say just Jays instead of even Johns. I would just say J's.
And he knew what you were talking about.
Yeah, I think the one of the funniest, like, you know how it is when you're getting high with somebody all the time, especially like if it's your friend, like you kind of like have that mind melt. Like I remember my buddy and we were seeing Wolf of Wall Street for the first time in theaters,
Oh, nice.
and I was like so triggered that entire movie, obviously, but I was still in active addiction, so like it was fine to be triggered then. So I'm like texting my dude to set up a meet for immediately after the movie. And we're walking out of the movie. I'm like, all right, yo, we got to see blah, blah, blah on the way out of here. He goes, oh, I already texted him too. We were both texting the same fucking drug dealer from the movie to go meet him after because we were so triggered during that movie to go get high. Now I can watch it sober and laugh and not want to do drugs. But
Yeah,
then I was like, I want to be like them, like it's so
yeah.
fucking weird. So you do this little line and it's another one of those ahas.
I mean, I already had the feeling from, doing opiates for years at this point. So it was
Hmm.
just a more concentrated feeling. Like I still, um, Obviously I wasn't sick anymore. I was like throwing up in the back seat of my car. I made him drive, which wasn't a good idea. You know, he's fixing up a shot while he's driving. I'm laying in the back seat. And I'm going to be honest, like I didn't like the feeling as much as I liked oxycodone. I liked the feeling of perks because they were such an easy way to manage exactly how much you're doing, you know.
Oh
And
my
I
God,
knew
yeah.
every day that, you know, when I would meet a guy like at Dunkin', or I would meet my pill guy anywhere, and I would crush two up on my phone, half a Dunkin' straw, and I would snort it, I knew that I was able to function for, you know, 3-4 hours until I
That's
needed
funny.
to do another one.
2 was your
But with
magic
dope,
number? Yeah,
yeah, like, you
that was
know,
mine.
and I would just do them and feel fine. But with the dope, it was such a hit or miss thing where, depending on what set you went to, depending on what type of dope it was, you were either beat completely and it was not even real, or it was just way too strong, and it honestly really scared me. And I would hang out with people who shot drugs all day, and I would see them, you know, fall out or overdose, or we'd have to call an ambulance and stuff like that. And at this point, nobody really knew what Narcan was or carried it on them personally.
Yeah.
And
Nobody was even testing for fentanyl either back then, let's be
no,
real. You know, that wasn't
I
a
don't.
thing. Testing strips weren't popular. Shit, testing strips are still fucking illegal in Pennsylvania. If you get caught with a fentanyl testing strip in Pennsylvania, it's considered paraphernalia. There are 29 other states in the country that consider testing kits paraphernalia. The other 20 states are like, no, this is harm reduction so that people don't die every day like they have been.
Yeah,
And Pennsylvania it's bullshit, but at least Philly, they know what's up. Mayor Kinney and the DA Larry Kresner, they're like, no, we don't believe in that. If we believe in harm reduction, we're not going to prosecute anybody that comes through our system for paraphernalia for having it testing. We support that. We think it should be used. So at
yeah,
least Philly is doing the right thing. They're like, no, fuck that law. We're not going to prosecute. But the rest of the state, if you get caught with a fetty strip, like a testing strip, it's paraphernalia. You might as well be just have a rig on you.
yeah,
Same difference. So, you know, just a way for them to throw more charges at people who are poor and can't afford them anyway. Let's be real.
yeah,
So, yeah, it's a scary time. So, yeah, you're not testing anything. You're just grabbing and going, you know?
yeah.
And, and the thing is how you don't know. I wouldn't want that. That's why I liked, I think, the 30s so much because I always knew, like you said, exactly what I was going to get from the
Mm,
pill itself. I knew when I dropped. You did the Dunkin' Donuts. I would always do the Wawa or the McDonald's because they
yeah.
had the fatter straws and you could fit an entire pill inside the straw. You know,
And
and
then
I would
bend
just
it in half and chew the
yeah.
end and then just pop it in. Yep.
That one hurt. Usually I'm used to doing that snorting is good.
Yeah.
That one hurt. But yeah, because I would be driving all the time. I would have to do it while driving. And so I would put sometimes 4 in there and just that's a whole lot of dust. The
Yeah.
one time I was with my dude and he gave me he needed a ride. He was a serious dude. He didn't sell. He only sold. He didn't do them. He's like, I need a ride to get my car from the shop. And I don't know if I told you the story. Either way, I'll take it out. But I was driving him and I hit a fucking speed bump or like a pothole, and it was on like Berlin Cross Keys Road. Hit a pothole, and right after I extended the straw, and all the dust went on my lap. It was the only time that happened to me, and I did that 2-3 times a day for years. That
Yeah.
in that specific way, and that happened to me. And he was in the back seat, and he was like, "Bro, if I wasn't in your car to see it happen, I never would have believed you." And he handed me 2 more.
That's love right there.
Nobody, but this dude also, I owe him $1,800 to this day, but I don't. I called him the day before I went to rehab, and I'm like, "Yo, man, like, I owe you 1,800. I know that. Like, I'd been paying it off little by little. He'll front me. I pay him. He'll front me. I had his bank account number. I used to do direct deposits into his account.
Oh
Like, that's
shit.
how, it was. Every Tuesday I got paid. I would drive to his bank and do a cash deposit. And so I called him. I was like, "Hey, I got to go to rehab or I'm going to fucking die. Like, I'm going to kill myself." And he was like, "Listen, like, I had set him up with so many fucking dealers, like, that are small time dealers that would do the small jobs for him that he didn't want to do because I wasn't in town for anymore. So, like, I hooked him up with a lot of people. So he hooked me up. still to this day, because he was like, dude, you go to rehab and I don't hear from you ever again, you don't owe me that money. If you go to rehab and I hear you're back and you're hitting people up, you owe me that 1,800 again. So to this day,
That's
3.5
such a
years later.
solid. That's honestly pretty solid.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's a drug dealer, but you could tell that he developed a friendship with you where he was like, dude, I don't want to see you. He probably didn't even want to be selling to you if he ended up having that type of
Think
moment.
about it like this, though, bro. We're master manipulators, right? So who are you texting the most? You don't text dealers at the set. You show up at the set. Pill dealers, though, are the ones you are texting. They're
Yeah.
the ones that have the family and they have the house and the fence and they're just getting the scripts and they go and meet you real fast while they're running errands. So those are the ones that like we develop friendships over. Like, hey, did you watch that Flyers game? Hey, did you see? Because we're texting. He's texting me all day too. So he knows how fucking miserable I am. He knows that I'm on the brink of killing myself, that I've had attempts or thoughts or ideations. So he was at this point like, yeah, you made me a shitload of money. Go get clean. We don't need to do this anymore. I talked to him once since then. It was because I saw he started a new business on Facebook. Like it popped up, shot him a congratulations. Don't worry, it's been 10 months, still clean and sober. And that was like 3 years ago. We haven't talked since. He said, thanks, keep going. So, it is what it is. But I got really lucky that I had a dude that said that to me, because most would be like, you're not going anywhere, motherfucker. You owe me money.
Yeah.
So now, when does it get like really, now you're doing dope? Are you even going back to 30s at this point?
No. No. So I did that for maybe like 3 months and then I decided to stop on my own and I developed drinking problem.
That's why I
Cause
laughed, because I was like, what's
yeah,
next?
yeah. I thought that, I wasn't cognizant of the fact that I was the common denominator in all these addictions, right? It was me that was the problem. And that's what 12-step fellowship taught me. But at the time I'm thinking, opiates are terrible. I need to put those down and I'll be fine and I can drink normally with my friends.
Did
So
you kick? Like,
yeah. So like
like
I told my parents knew what the deal was. I told them what was going on and I was like, I just need like a week. Let me just stay here for a week and I'll be fine. And then I'll get back to work, yada yada yada. I told my job I had a flu and it was awkward. Like my parents were real
subs?
upset.
Or did you just do it cold?
Yeah, yeah. I just
Cold
laid on my
turkey.
couch, laid in the basement because the
Binge watch
concrete.
TV shows.
Yeah, I tried to just kind of, I don't know. I mean, I literally would just take like 5 showers a day and just kind of sit at home and drink a little bit of water. And I remember on like day 2, I like begged my mom for like some Ambien because she's prescribed it for sleep. So I like took a bunch of them and I got like 3 hours of sleep. And then I eventually made it to day like 4 or 5. And I told them I was going to go to a meeting because my friend had gotten sober and I had never gone to a meeting before. And I didn't end up going. I just went to the liquor store and, bought a handle and snuck it back home. And then I moved back out. And then my drinking really, it pretty much from day one was another addiction. I became an alcoholic. I was shaking in the morning. I couldn't function without liquor. Times when I'd wake up and it's 7 a.m. and I didn't have liquor, I was stuck to either going to Acme or ShopRite and buying, peppermint extract, lemon extract, vanilla extract, or even Scope, and drinking mouthwash. It's 23.5% alcohol, so it's 47 proof. It's still something. It makes you sick, but
Yeah, it
it tied
does.
me over until the liquor store opened. But so
What were
this
you
all,
drinking? What were you drinking the handles of, though, at the time?
I was drinking airplane bottles of 99 bananas, 99 grapes, and 99 oranges.
So you were just buying a shitload of airplane bottles every day
Yeah.
and
And,
just
that's what they say is the smaller the bottle, the bigger the problem. Right. So
okay.
people who would go and buy a 175, a Kettle One or something and leave it, like my father would buy a jug handle of either Goose or Kettle One and keep it in the freezer. And he'd have that shit for months,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting here buying 20, 30 tiny little bottles every day because I don't want people to know I'm drinking. And I had already had a DUI when I was 19. So now I'm drinking even more, getting plastered starting from as soon as I wake up until I go to sleep. I'm drunk. And then I ended up getting another DUI. I was leaving work. My coworker took my keys from me and said, "You're not driving home." So I said, "That's fine. Can you drive me home?" She drives me home. I ask her for my keys back because I'm like, my door's locked. I need the keys. She's like, "All right." As soon as she hands me the keys, I run back to my car, like 4 miles to my office, get in my car. As I'm pulling out of the parking lot, I lived in West Effort at the time, and my job was in West Effort. So it was only 4 miles away. So I'm opening the glove compartment to try and look for an unopened airplane bottle. There's airplane empty ones falling all over my car. And I didn't see, obviously, the cop car in front of me. And I crashed into him at a red light. So I basically didn't know
of
that.
all people you could hit in that
Yeah.
moment right there.
So like what I remember is like being cognizant of the accident and seeing a cop at my window and being like, "Dude, this guy got here quick. Like, what the hell's going on?" And he rips me out of the car. He's like pissed as shit. Like, "Dude, you ruined my cruiser." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. Like, I don't, I've already had a DUI, so I knew the deal." And I just straight up told him, I'm like, "Dude, I'm hammered." Like I didn't feel like doing the whole song and dance. Like, like there's liquor bottles all over my car. Like
Yeah, you got me dead to rights. I don't
yeah,
need to sit here and lie to you. Just do what you got to do and fucking take me away.
yeah. So they ended up taking me to the station. My buddy picked me up. And I had to come home and like tell my parents like what was going on. Yeah, my drinking's been out of control. I just got another DUI. And something um so 2 years before I was born in 1985, my father's brother and his sister were killed by a drunk driver. um there was a bunch of kids. This was actually in West Effort, and there was a bunch of kids who were drinking at the time. It's mid 80s. They played football for the school. They got pulled over and the cop was like, "Look, just go home." And instead they're driving around this bend by the West Effort High School. And my aunt and uncle at the time were driving home from somewhere else and they crashed into them. And all 6 kids ended up passing away, and
Holy shit.
really affected my dad. It affected my grandparents. It was something really traumatic that happened to them. So growing up, man, like I didn't talk about this, but my father had always told me, "Look, if you're ever drinking and you need a ride home or you need something like this, don't hesitate to call me. I'll pick you up. You won't get in trouble as long as you do the right thing." But that goes out the window when I think I'm so slick and I'm untouchable. It's like, dude, I'm not trying to have that conversation. I'll just get home. It's fine. And, coming home and having to tell him, not only did I cause another accident because my first DUI was an accident, my friend was injured, but, I crashed into a cop. I'm drunk again. I have a drinking problem. I just got another DUI. So I pretty much got kicked out of the house. I was going from house to house, was trying to, live on people's couches, or at one point I was living in a graveyard, man. So I found like this big evergreen tree where you would walk under the leaves, and by the trunk it was this big opening. So I had a sleeping bag and I had like a little backpack with my stuff, and I just lived there and drank. I was a homeless alcoholic. And I picked the graveyard because I figured people wouldn't bother me there. Like nobody's coming into the graveyard at night and like seeing me sleeping there. It's not like a park bench.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, that was probably the lowest point of my drinking or using. And then obviously from the depression of that, started to mix in the Xanax with it. And then once I meet the person selling the Xanax, they have 30s, they have dope, they have all these things. So then I'm like just doing everything, and that's eventually when in 2014, it was July 16th, 2014. And this is what landed me in treatment for the first time. And I'm on OkCupid. I'm trying to find like, I'll be honest, I was trying to find like an ugly chick that I could talk to that would let me stay at her house. That was my goal. I don't want to be sleeping out here. Like I'm gonna woo some girl and I'm gonna be able to just stay at her place.
How I
And I
Met Your
see
Mother would call that banging for roof.
hanging for a roof.
That's How I Met Your Mother.
I've never
In one of the episodes, Barney talked about go into bars that were further away and always trying to hook up with someone this way that he could stay with them and then leave in the middle of the night. But he would always never fuck them. He would always leave before, like, pretend to fall asleep when he would get up to their room.
Yeah.
And his name was the Sexless Innkeeper, and then somebody else called it Banging for Roof. So there was two different terms used for
So I
what you just
wasn't
described.
original.
You're
It's
not
been happening.
original,
It's happened.
and you're not that much of an asshole. I mean, you are an asshole, but not that much. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We're all assholes.
Well, I ended up finding my ex-girlfriend, right? And it was somebody I had dated when I first started doing pills, and she had been a full-blown heroin addict, right? So I saw her and I'm like, dude, she definitely is probably using, probably can hook me up with something and I might be able to stay with her. And I message her on the dating app and she's like, yeah, I don't get high anymore. I went to rehab and I live in an Oxford house. And I'm like, what the fuck is an Oxford house? And she's like, well, after treatment, it's a place you live where you can stay sober. And that was my first like step two experience, like spiritual awakening, where I knew somebody in my life who was a stone cold junkie who was now sober, you know, and refusing to do drugs with me. She didn't want to deal with any of that. So I still was trying to, you know, manipulate. And I said, well, you know, will you sleep with me if I get clean? And she was like, yeah. She's like, I miss you. She's like, call this guy. He'll drive you to treatment. He'll tell you everything you need to know. And at the time, you know, I didn't necessarily really even want to quit using. Like I was content. I wasn't content. I knew that my life sucked, but I accepted the fact that this was my life. I was going to die like this, right? Alone, family wanted nothing to do with me, no friends, you know,
With the
people,
things you love.
yeah. And just I was like, this is just what my fate is. And I was like, well, if I do this, maybe I could sleep with this chick again. So I call this guy and I'm like, hey, my name's Brian. Like, I was told to call you from so and so. And he's like, you ready? And I'm like, I guess. And he's like, all right, I'll pick you up tomorrow at noon. Be ready. Where are you at? And I told him. He comes the next day, picks me up. He has a pack of cigarettes for me. He has a coffee for me. And he's like, we're going to rehab. I'm like, all right. So I go to the rehab. I was there for like 35 days. Then I went to a halfway house after that. And I'm talking to this girl the whole time, right? And then I was like, I guess I'll do an Oxford house too, because that's what she's in. So I move into an Oxford house. I literally cannot wait to turn my phone on and text her and be like, hey, guess what? Like, I'm sober now. And she's like, oh, yeah, I have a boyfriend. She's like, I'm glad you got sober, though. So she basically said all those things.
She 12-stepped
Get
you.
me to go.
She
Yeah.
12-stepped you with a 13-step promise.
Yeah. Exactly what happened. So then I
An
figured, I'm
empty
like, all right,
promise.
yeah, I can't
No, that's
go
awesome.
back on this now. You know,
Yeah.
like now I'm feeling good. I laughed more than I ever had when I was in rehab.
Yo,
You
isn't
know,
that weird with your stomach, right? You know what I
yeah,
mean? When I say with your stomach, like, I was doing fucking stand-up comedy and I forgot how to laugh. And I didn't know that I forgot how to laugh. You know, and it's weird to say, and it's such a thing, like, I didn't realize I wasn't laughing the entire time that I was doing stand-up, man. It wasn't until I was in fucking rehab, like you said, I'm in sober living, I'm in meetings, and I'm fucking around, and we're having fun, and we're sober, that I truly laughed like a fucking child again with my
yeah.
stomach. And I felt that laughter in my face, and I felt my face hurt from smiling. You know, those were just some of the things that I didn't even realize that I was missing out on because I was so numb the entire time. You
Yeah.
know, it's hard to laugh with your stomach when you don't actually feel shit.
Well, you weren't even using those muscles for however long,
Yeah,
and
let's be
you're like
real.
doing that, like, whoa, this feels weird.
Yeah, like, and the other thing was gratitude. I didn't know that gratitude, the word, was used outside of Thanksgiving until I got sober. I
Yeah,
didn't know that people said that every day. I didn't know that people said I'm a grateful whatever, I'm grateful for this, or do a 10-step list on being fucking grateful. I didn't know any of that. I just thought you said I'm grateful on Thanksgiving.
yeah,
And that was it. And then I got sober. So that's weird. So now you're like, you got like 90 days under your belt. You're in the Oxford house. She's like, I'm glad you are, but see ya. But I
yeah.
hope you took it good though, right?
Yeah. I mean, I fucked a
Yeah.
roommate, so that was fine.
Don't worry, I got you a roommate, Bri.
Yeah. That was, that I ended up, the very first time, I went to treatment. I mean, I had glossed over, like in my past, I'd gone to psychiatric facilities. Like I tried to take my own life like 3 different times. And 2 of them were not even when I was addicted to drugs. I was just severely depressed when I was younger. But this was my first time in a drug treatment center. And with the house that I moved into, everybody went to NA meetings, but nobody did any step work, right? So, yeah, I had the network, I had fun, there were women around, we gambled, degenerately gambled. And that kept me clean for 3 years, but it was not all peaches and cream. Like I was still
And
depressed.
so now, like, you're clean for the first time, and you're in Jersey, you're in Magnolia.
Yeah.
Are you back to work again?
Yeah. I went back to serving tables. I worked at an Olive Garden with like 4 other guys who lived in my house. So, there were sober people that
Yeah.
worked there, but I got
So you
into a
weren't working a
relationship.
program. Yeah. Okay.
No,
There it
no, no.
is. There. Okay. So you're not working any steps. I was like waiting for the but, and
Yeah.
you got into a relationship.
Yeah, well, I had gone on like a tear, right? So I would just, I was replacing my addiction with women. And
Yep.
that was something, I mean, I'll be honest, I still struggle with that to this day. But I meet this girl, I get into a relationship with her. She had 2 kids, and we were together from like my first year in sobriety up until I relapsed. And, I distanced myself from the program. I stopped doing the meetings. I stopped talking to my friends who were clean or sober. And that was really the only program I had. I didn't have any recovery. I just had accountability in talking to other people who were clean. And once I took that away and was just with her, I started to think I was normal again. I moved out of the Oxford fairly quickly. I moved back into my parents, into my basement, and me and her basically stayed there together, or we would be at her house with her kids. And then we had a pretty terrible breakup, and I was like, well, I'm going to get high because I know that that'll make me feel better. I didn't have anybody in my life that was calling on a daily basis. I didn't have a program. I hadn't been through the steps at all. Um, of course, I told people I did. I told my family, like, yeah, I've been clean for 3 years. Like, I've been through the steps. I have sponsees. I lied about all this stuff because I knew they weren't able to call me on it. And, I would go to a meeting and I wouldn't say stuff like that because people would see right through it. But with my
Yeah.
family, they're
The people
thinking,
that
no, he
yeah.
doesn't use drugs. He definitely does this stuff. So then I ended up relapsing. And once you relapse with a head full of even the cliches or like knowing that you're just numbing yourself, the problems are still going to be there once you come to like life's going to get worse. Like you'd see the decline. Um, and then, I had a kid reach out to me and say, dude, you got to get sober again. So I ended up just doing
Were
that
you
all.
still making content, bro? Were you still putting out
No, no,
content?
no. So
Okay.
at this point, I wasn't even really like, I didn't have a page or anything like that. I just kind of still found like other people's memes funny.
Yeah.
I saw what other people made. But then the next time that I got sober, this was in 2018. I got sober, and after a year, I moved to Florida. And when I was in Florida is when I started to actually make content, and I started to make memes, and Nick had me as an admin on the Dark Side Facebook page. And
Hmm.
at the time that he brought me in as admin, it was me, him, this guy Jason, whose page is called Just Say Maybe on Instagram. He's hilarious. He posts a lot of funny drug humor, and another guy who goes by Adam the House Cat. And we built the page up, dude. It had over like, a couple 100,000 followers, and then it ended up getting nuked on Facebook. So I was like, man, I need to come up with a page. I was like, I'll make an Instagram. So I made an Instagram. I called it Str8pepperdiet because at this point in Florida, I had switched from NA to AA, started to actually work a program. I'd gone through my steps. Like I was active in the recovery community. I was in service. I took speaking commitments. Like I had a home group. I had 2 home groups at one point down there. Like I was
Yeah.
really trying to do.
Were you in Delray?
So I first moved down to Boca Raton. I moved down there with over a year. I was going to start a call center with a friend of mine. So we moved down to Boca, and then I moved to Delray, and then I just started moving around to a ton of different places. And
Delray
once I
Beach
ended
is
up,
South Jersey Junior.
oh,
South
100%,
Jersey
everybody
is
down there.
everybody in everybody I fucking know lives in Delray or went to Delray. Like I even I was just talking to my buddy about this. I even know the dude that ran halfway there down there.
Really?
I grew up with him since we were little, and he ran halfway there and then got indicted for embezzling or fraud charges of $52 million
Yeah, you
worth
can
of
edit it
fraud.
out, but it was
Yeah. Oh yeah. And my boy Kevin, that was on my show the other day. He's celebrating 4 years. Yo, him and I met in AA in Los Angeles, South Jersey.
really.
So we had a lot in common. He got arrested in the Walmart in Audubon parking lot where I used to always buy my pills. So like, him and I had a lot of like funny stories when we first met. So I finally had him on the show. I just posted a video yesterday of a clip of him talking about. He was like, "Yeah, on my relapse, I knew I had to get sober when I got ringworm from a tiger." I'm like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, I used to live at the Deacon mansion with them, and they got a fucking tiger one day, and I was bottle feeding it, and they gave me ringworm."
What?
Yeah, this dude. Yeah, so like I had him on, and we were talking,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Dude, I was at the fucking one across the street watching them raid him as it was happening in 2014. He was at the halfway house across the street watching that one get raided by the ATF." Yeah. So I was like, yeah, he used to hit home runs when we were kids. Like, he was like that bulky, he's like a big dude. So he was smoking home runs when we were kids. Like he was like little Babe Ruth, they called him. Like kids. He didn't drugs happen. When you grow up in Audubon Park, it is so hard to fucking make it out. Audubon Park is so much different from Audubon because of how close it is to Camden and all the stereotypes that were poor. Like my one boy from the park is killing it right now in recovery. You probably know him, Rob Lutman.
Oh, I know Rob.
Me and him go way back. Like Slobby, his nickname in high school was Slob B, and mine was Mess. And his best friend is my cousin, and his other best friend was Chris Pasha. Chris Pasha was the first person that was like, I talk about him all the time in my story because when I was 11, I discovered alcohol, right? We were just drinking, having fun. And then 12, Chris got hit by a car and died. And he was run across Black Horse Pike in Audubon Park, and he got hit and didn't make it. And he was the fastest person I knew. He was supposed to go to the NHL, all that shit. And we were all devastated. So I said to my boy, like, hey, man, like, we can drink and we're going to feel better. Boom, alcoholic.
Yeah.
And I know that now looking back, that was my moment of becoming an alcoholic. You don't know that shit when you're 12, but it's just one of those things where it's funny. It's not funny, but like how it works out. Now Rob is killing it with like what he does with Sunrise Detox and everything else in Cherry Hill with like the network of therapists. So now you're in Florida, you're in Delray, and do you have a relapse down there?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
what happened?
I moved down there to start and open a phone room, and I find out after I get there that it wasn't as legitimate as I thought it was. So then I kind of bounced around all these places. I was getting high. I end up in Lake Worth. I end up in Boynton Beach. At one point, I ended up on some girl's couch in her apartment that I met at a meeting. And then I moved up further to Port St. Lucie. And once I got to Port St. Lucie, that's where I was talking about. I took it serious. I started working a program of Alcoholics Anonymous. I started getting in service. I started going to detoxes, going to treatment centers, doing speaking commitments, developing a network of really cool guys in recovery down there. And that's when I first decided to make my page. So I made the page. I started making, drug humor on there. It didn't even really take off. I mean, I had probably like 70 or 80 followers on there, just like people who knew me. And I was still active on Facebook, and I would make posts like with Nick on that Facebook page before it got taken down. And then what happened was just trying to network with other people. It's pretty much how, like, when you reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to be on a podcast? And then, now I'll repost any clips that you edit of like me and you, and I can throw that on my page, and then people will follow you because of that. And then just trying to do networking with larger pages, like bigger creators, and I remember when Dank Recovery was on Facebook, and they had like over 1 million followers.
Yeah, that's like the OG. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like the top recovery page. And he's honestly one of the coolest dudes. Won't say his name in here, that way you don't have to edit it out, but he's a really religious guy. He works a really solid program at AA, but he has like that dark humor. Like, he loves making jokes like that. And I used to DM the memes that I made all the time, be like, please post this on your page, please post this. And, eventually they found one funny that I sent them, and they posted it up there. And, I was like elated. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm like famous now, and it was really corny looking back on it. But I made this page, and I started connecting with other creators and realizing that these people are just like me. Like, they just want to see other people laugh, and be able to connect with people. But it's to the point now where, I'll go on to my Instagram and I'll go to my DMs, and people will laugh at the stories I put on, or people will say, oh, that was relatable. But literally on a daily basis, I have a few people each day that reach out that say, hey, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your page. Like, I'm using right now, my family doesn't know, I've never been to treatment, I don't know how to do it, and I get to be the person who's like a confidant, I guess. Like, they don't know me, I'm a random person on the internet, and they're telling me like these deepest, darkest secrets. They're unloading like trauma or whatever's going on in their life, and they're asking for help. And I tell them, look, I'm not like some recovery guru. Like, I just kind of make jokes. But, if you need help, like, I've gone online and I'll go to like SAMHSA's website, and I'll find out what state they're in, and I'll send them links and say, hey, call this number, this place will get you in. I've made phone calls to help people get into treatment.
You know why, though? Because it takes us seconds. We know what we need to do, and we also know what their thinking is like. I know if somebody reaches out, and because they have with mine too, and it's been fucking amazing. It's such an amazing feeling to be able to be there. If you go to my Facebook page for my business, for my meeting center, it says very responsive to messages, because I do not fuck around. If you message us asking for help, I'm answering, and it means a lot, because I know what it's like to be on the other end of that phone, right? I know what it's like to wait for a response back and to be like, they're going to judge me. They're going to hate me. They're not even going to give me the time of day. And then I'm worthless. I'm a piece of shit, yada, yada, yada. These are all the negative self-talk I would say to myself all day long in addiction. I always talk about, when I decided to go to rehab, it was because I found that high sobriety on a documentary. I'm watching this documentary, Legend of 420, and they mention high sobriety as a rehab and a sober living that helps you get off of opiates with using cannabis. And for the first time in 10 years, I'm like, holy shit, I would do that. The next day, I'm sitting in the McDonald's for like 8 hours waiting forever for somebody to hit me up to be like, yeah, I'm good. Finally, I see somebody, he wants one. The other person that's getting them wants one. So now I'm buying 4 and I'm getting 2, right? Or I'm getting 3. And I slammed 2 right away. Like we said, that 2 was the magic number. And I'm driving back on the turnpike in PA, my long 2-hour drive after a 10-hour day on a Saturday with 1:30 left. And my dog in the back seat, she would always, my road dog, drive with me so I brought my dog with me so that I wouldn't commit suicide. If she was with me, I wouldn't drive my car into a tree like I wanted to all the time. So she would always come with me. And I never knew how long I was going to be. At least if I was at McDonald's for 8 hours, I can take her to pee real quick and put her back in the car, and she loves to people watch, so she'll be happy. Yeah. So, I'm driving back, and I'm looking at her in the rear view, and she just like give me this look like, bro, you're fucking up. Like, do something. And I Googled high sobriety at 8 p.m., 5 p.m. in California on a Saturday, and I talked to this dude, Justin, for 2 hours. I went into treatment 3 days later. I can't tell you if he didn't answer that phone because it was Saturday night, and it was May, April, and it's nice weather. He's out there hanging out with his friends. He'd be like, I'll take this call tomorrow. I never would have answered it. I probably wouldn't have called it back.
Yeah.
I would have been like, well, I tried. No one wanted to reach out and throw me a line. So at least I can say I tried to get help. I never would have followed through with it. So that's why I find it important to try to answer. Obviously, life happens. We're talking right now. I'm not answering messages. That's whatever.
Yeah, I
People are
looked and I got like some text, but I was like, I'll answer them after.
Yeah, I got like a bunch of fucking different things, and it's like they'll be there. But the important thing is I try to answer when I can. If it's 2 a.m. and if I'm awake, I'm going to respond.
Yeah.
I'm not going to play that game of like I don't want them to seem like I'm too eager. Like I'm fucking married. I'm not trying to fuck them. I'm trying to help them. I can answer them back.
100%.
So, yeah, it is a great feeling, and it keeps me going too. You know what I mean? Like it's great for my recovery and the way I do things, and it seems like it's been great for you too.
Yeah,
like, because when did you decide last October that you were like, I'm gonna do this again?
So I mean, I was using towards the start of the pandemic. The job I was at, I was making great money, and I was collecting unemployment under the table. So
were you in Florida or back in Jersey?
I was back in Jersey. I moved home December 2019, so like 3 months before the pandemic started. So I got into a job. I was making really good money, and some people there were using, and I ended up picking up because I guess just because I had all this money, and I figured, you know what? I had it in my head. I said, I'm going to use for a little while. I have the money to bankroll an addiction, and then I'll just get sober again. So like I didn't think.
Johns are easy to hide.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Xanax, they could tell my face every single time. Every time I did a Xanax, even one, I had my family members calling me out for being high. But Johns, they never called me out for being high.
Because it's hard to pinpoint,
Yeah.
But on Xanax, when you're fucking eating 7 pints of ice cream and
drooling,
yeah, they're like, whoa, something's up. But no, I didn't really think I had a problem at this point. In terms of relapses or using this past time, it wasn't a rock bottom, like from like my life before to like my last relapse. Like I wasn't throwing everything away. I still managed to have my job, but it was the inside, like within my soul, like I felt empty. I knew that it was wrong. And I call it the recovery condom, right? So as soon as you ever get into recovery, you have a head full of AA, you have a head full of whatever program you work. And then once you get high or you go back out, you still have that, right? So you're not raw dogging drugs ever again. Like you're not, you got a rubber on. And that's
I'm laughing.
like,
I'm laughing because I'm relating, because obviously we know this by now. You laugh and we relate. You know what I mean? But like when I relapsed with drinking after 13 months clean, when I originally did it, 3.5 years ago, when I relapsed with drinking, I bought a 6-pack of Twisted Tea and I poured the first 2 out because to prove to myself that I didn't need to drink all 6.
Jesus Christ.
Because of what you just said, of what was in my head. Like, I'm not an alcoholic. Look, I can pour drinks out. It's okay.
I bet after you crush those 4, you wish you didn't pour them out.
I did and I didn't because I was smoking then. That's when I was like, well, if I'm drinking, I might as well smoke weed. Because that's when I was like smoking weed. I would do the vapes here and there, but I started smoking a lot of flower then too. Like, I was going through an ounce a week of medicinal, easy. And I don't smoke blunts or joints. It was in bongs and bowls that I was going through an ounce a week in.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, especially in medicine bud up here. It's not like I'm buying it on the street. I'm getting medical bud, So, I mean, now, like I said, I don't want to smoke. And plus, it literally hurts because I threw up so much bile in my addiction from withdrawing every day and constantly throwing up bile every day that I lost a shitload of stomach lining by my gallbladder. So now I have this nerve that rubs up against the back of my stomach that's not being protected by any tissue, that when I cough really hard, it hits it really hard and it hurts like a motherfucker. So if I smoke, I'm coughing. And I smoke cigarettes as it is, and cigarettes aren't going to make me cough by now. It's been 20 some years of a pack a day, but I don't want to add in more smoke on top of I am trying to change my relationship. I am trying to have it as a medicine. If I smoke a joint, I'm going to feel the effects immediately. If I take a capsule, it's an hour to 3 hours and it's going to do its job. And it's not an immediate an effect that I'm escaping with, like I did with pills and drinking. You escape right away with snorting and chugging. So, that relationship thing is a huge deal to me. So I get that. So now, and you go for what, 10 months, December to October, if I'm not mistaken. Is that what you did?
Yeah. So pretty much that whole time I was, I drank one time because I was so scared that if I had started drinking, that it would just snowball and I'd end up losing everything. So I was pretty much just doing Xanax and perks. And, a lot of times they were pressed perks. So I was like petrified to do too many because I didn't want to die. And I was dating a girl who was in recovery. I don't know why the fuck she decided to start dating me because I was getting high already.
And she
But then
knew?
she's like, yeah, she knew. I mean, I would drive. It's kind of fucked up, but like I would pick her up and I would go to meet somebody to get perks, and she would be in the car and she'd be like, "Why are you doing this?" And I'm like, "Because you're still around. Like you're not leaving me because of it." And then after a certain point, I'm like, "Dude, this girl just doesn't care." And I kind of wanted her
To
to
care.
care. Yeah. So it started to go downhill, and eventually in October, beginning of October, she's like, "You need to go to rehab, or I'm gonna leave you." I had lost the job that I was working at, and I was only living off unemployment, so I was just home all day. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I'm not able to stop on my own this time. So I called, went back to Maryville, which I had been to before, and it's not the best facility. It's a state-run facility. I mean, I had Medicaid, so I wasn't going to this nice bougie place anymore. And I just wanted to do something different. So I got out of there and I moved to an Oxford house down by Atlantic City because she lived in an Oxford house in Summers Point. So it was like maybe 15, 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
So I predicated where I was living on like staying with her and thinking we're going to be like together forever. But then once I got sober, I realized, she liked the chaos of me and active addiction because she could get away with things that I was just not cognizant of. I'd be taking all these bars and passing out. Meanwhile, she's texting and chilling with guys, chilling with girls, doing anything that she wanted to do, and was able to get it off because I just didn't care and just didn't know. And then once I get sober and I want to be present and I want to let's me, you and your son go out and, we'll take him out somewhere. We'll go out to eat and stuff like that. And she started to kind of be like, I don't really even fuck with him anymore now that I'm sober. And then we broke up before Christmas last year, like 3 days before Christmas, which
Perfect
was
time.
honestly a blessing because it was a pretty
Yeah.
toxic relationship. I didn't
Yeah.
see how toxic it was when I was using.
Well, and we
So
don't. And like we talked about earlier, we can't see that toxicity on anything when we're up close to it. It's like seeing that, it's like that cliche, seeing the forest through the trees.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, it's the exact same thing. So, you step away, now you're 2 months sober. And are you going back to work in a program again this time? I mean, obviously
Yeah,
you are. We've talked about it. But how
yeah.
long before you were like, oh, I know, I need to get detoxed and get back into working the steps again?
What do you mean?
Like, did you know, like, that you just need to detox and then get back into working the steps and hitting meetings and fellowshipping and shit?
Yeah,
When
but
did you start creating again then? Because I'm sure you
so I was actually making memes the whole time that I was using.
mhm.
Um, and it
You
was when
probably
I
got some
started.
ideas while you were getting high too.
Oh, 100%. A lot of the templates that I made back then, like prior to last October, were like I would put like little pictures of Zans into different things. Like I'd put like pictures of perks into stuff, and it was like pictures that I was taking. You
Yeah.
know, I filmed a lot of videos of myself, like barred out, that I still have. I ended up incorporating into the one TikTok I made. Um, so I was still making memes, but the people who followed me from the beginning who saw the difference from, lighthearted drug humor and, recovery humor started to see, like, I'm incorporating more like suicidal memes, like idolizing, like killing myself, like drugs, like really dark things. And people are like, dude, you need help. This isn't like funny, uplifting stuff. Seems like a cry for help.
That's like me in the last month of stand up. Me
Yeah.
like the last month of my addiction and doing stand up. Like there was sometimes if I was going on, there was a theater that I used to go to on Sundays called the Good Comedy Theater in Philly in Chinatown.
Mhm.
And the crowd was always just other comics and their girlfriends or boyfriends, significant others. That was the
Everybody in
crowd.
the industry.
Yeah, it's not like people like you and me, like regular people aren't going to see a show on a Sunday night there. It's people would practice in front of people,
Yeah.
and that's basically what we're doing is we're practicing. And so I would get up there, my friends or family wouldn't be in the crowd ever, and I would get up there and like, I'm JD and I'm an alcoholic. I'm at the wrong place, but I'll just keep talking, kind of thing. And just I would be doing a share and not knowing I was doing a share. I didn't know that people shared in meetings like that. I'd never been to meetings, right? I'm just talking just to get it all out of how my day was and how I felt. And then all of a sudden I'm in, meetings and I'm getting sober and I'm like, how am I going to talk in front of these people sober? And I'm like, well, I just got to do stand up and just do my shares that way. And then as I was doing it, I started realizing like, oh shit, I was already doing this in stand up, but now I'm
Yeah.
sober and I'm just talking about my day and how I'm feeling. And just like that got me used to talking in front of people again. Like, but I've only done stand up once since I got sober, and it was on my 9 month anniversary. And it was a horrible crowd, and I just said, fuck it, I'm not going back there. It was in
Now let
Harrisburg.
me ask you a question, because I've always thought about doing stand up. I was somebody, like, growing up, people were always like, you should do stand up, you should try and do like comedy, you should try and do this. And I was always like, it scared me. But when you're in a meeting, how do you determine the difference between, because a lot of times when I share in a meeting,
I
like,
know,
I have an ulterior motive to make people laugh. So,
yeah.
like, how do you deal with, like, JD the addict alcoholic or JD the comic? Like, how do you, when you share, do you try and make people laugh, or do you try and be like, oh, I should probably make this a little more serious?
It's a mixture of reading the room and what other shares came first, because I am paying attention, so
Yeah.
if a lot of people are going around, they're being somber and I need to bring it up, then yeah, I'm going to try to make people laugh to like kind of bring it back a little bit. Or
Mhm.
if we're talking about some serious shit, I'm not just going to make some fucking, so I am reading the room. It is a fine line because, and I'm sure you can agree, I
Absolutely.
am better uncomfortable and laughing. It makes more sense to me to laugh at the darkness and the being uncomfortable and the bad. So there's a lot of times where like I'm sharing and it could be a mental health meeting, a trauma meeting, not even like an AA or an NA meeting. And I'm getting these looks from people who are there for not for drinking or using and not used to these kind of shares. And
Yeah.
they're like, what the fuck? Like
Yeah.
some of the shit that we would share that's normal in any meeting, but like in a meeting where somebody's not an alcoholic or an addict, they're just there for mental health. I'm
Yeah.
getting some looks sometimes, but I am getting laughs. So that's always the thing. I'm like, all right, I've got to laugh. But I'm always reading the room, man. There's sometimes where like, and it, I need to laugh at myself. I need to share something that's embarrassing, that's going to make you laugh at me.
Yep.
But I need to share it in a way. If I'm in a bad mood, I got to make you laugh to lift myself up sometimes too. So
Yeah.
like if I'm depressed and in my head, if I'm making you laugh on the other side or making the crowd laugh or making, people laugh that are watching me share, then at least I'm out of my head for a minute because I just made their day a little bit better. You
It's
know,
like the sad clown.
yeah, that's all comics are, bro. As stand-up
Yeah.
comedy, people are like, "Oh, Robin Williams is so happy." Like, no, we're broken. There's so many of us that are broken. And, and I say us, but I haven't made a dime in stand up, but but like anybody who gets on stage and bears their soul like that is usually broken, bro. Like because they have something inherently wrong where they need you to like them.
Yeah.
And the difference with, performers when it comes to comics and like musicians, right? Say, you're a musician. We already talked about this, and I do stand up. say you write one great 5-minute song, you can make millions of dollars off that one 5-minute song. I could have a great 5-minute joke, and everybody's like, "Where's your other 55 minutes?"
Yeah.
That's funny, but what else do you got? I also can't go on stage and do a 5 minutes Jerry Seinfeld bits and make you laugh to work on my timing. You can go on stage and do a cover of Adele and be like, "Holy shit, who is that guy who can sing like a fucking bird? Who is
Yeah.
get him a deal? Anybody will write him, songs to sing." No one's gonna hear my timing of Seinfeld jokes and be like, "We gotta write him some jokes. He's got timing, that one."
Yeah.
That's not,
Right.
so like there's no one-hit wonders with us. We got to grind in the dirtiest of fucking places. There's a lot of us that start out in strip clubs and all that shit in the weirdest places doing stand-up, and we're not making money at all. Like, I did stand-up for years and didn't make a dime. Like, you don't get paid unless you're famous. Like, podcasts have been helping stand-up comics make money because now I heard Bobby Lee talk about it. Like, before, Bobby Lee, he was on Mad TV back in the day. He was a Korean dude, and
Yeah.
he does
I've
stand
seen
up.
him on Theo Von's podcast.
Oh yeah, he does Theo all the time. Yeah. So Bobby is hilarious, and he never done a special, but he talks about when he used to travel on the road to do stand up. Say he was coming to Philly, we would only know he's in Philly when he does a like Preston and Steve radio show. He's on Preston and Steve on Thursday morning promoting, "Hey, I'm at Helium all weekend. Come buy tickets." That's how you go see him. But now because of podcast, he can be like, "Oh, I'll be in Philly on this weekend. I'll be here this weekend." Now that his fans are coming to him, and now he's selling out shows everywhere he goes. Before, he was getting like 50% capacity.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of ways that, stand-ups can make money or even find other avenues or ways to promote themselves without even just doing their bits. One of my favorite comedians is Ryan Sickler, and I never even heard him do stand-up, but he's a great podcast host.
Oh, okay.
He's hilarious on his podcast. He tells hilarious stories. He has amazing guests on. It's called The Honeydew, and it's where he spends time highlighting the lowlights. So everybody he talks to, he's talking about their worst situations, but making them laugh about it. So it's fucking amazing. It's called The Honeydew Podcast. He does a Patreon show where he talks to regular people like us too. And
Yeah.
here are highlights of lowlights. And yeah, he's awesome. He's from Baltimore, and he's got this crazy laugh, and he cracks me up. So like, there's shit that I find that is dark that makes me laugh, and then there's shit that I don't know. To me, laughter is important, and making you laugh and making my wife laugh and my kid or whatever, like you're taking that person out of their head for a second.
Yeah.
And being stuck in our heads is a dangerous place to be. So, like, when did it take off for you?
What do you mean?
Like your page, when did all of a sudden you
Oh.
go from like 70 to like you woke up and you had a million fucking messages all of a sudden, like notifications?
I mean, it was really slow. I started to really think about, making sure that I was coming out with content on a daily basis. And whether that was creating my own or like some nights if I felt inspired and I'd sit there and I'd find a bunch of cool templates and I'd make, 15, 20 memes at once. And then I knew that I'd have them throughout the week. And then I'd have like different folders and stuff like, all right, I'll run this then, or like, this is coming up, or paying attention to, current events and being able to relate things that people just read about and turning that into something funny. And I do have a problem. I mean, a lot of times something tragic can happen, and my first thought is like, how can I make a joke out of this? And
Yeah.
unfortunately, I mean, bad attention or good attention, it's still attention. So it still drives people to the page. So it started to slowly rise. And then I started to network with a bunch of other pages. I mean, there's a lot of great creators on there that will make like little meme group chats with like the other people who are admins at different pages, and then we'll send like a template that we like, and somebody else will come up with a caption, or reach out to I like to reach out to smaller pages and be able to help them. So I'll find like a meme page that has 20 or 30 followers and only a couple of memes up, and I'll send them a message like, yo, keep it up, like great page, you know what I mean? I love this picture. Or there's been times where I've literally made a meme, not watermarked it, and sent it to a small creator and be like, post this on your page and put your watermark on it. It'll do well. I'll reshare it for you, and try and help people out, because when I was doing it, the only person who was really supportive of me was Nick, who was running that page. And I looked up to him because his memes get shared not only just from him, but people will screenshot them and you'll see them all over Reddit. You'll see them on Twitter. You'll see them on Facebook, and I'm like, I want that to be me. And nowadays, like, that happens. Like, I'll go on Reddit and like there's a drug memes subreddit, there's an opiate subreddit, and I've seen like my memes that other people have taken and reposted on there. It's a pretty cool feeling. I mean, it was a pretty slow progression.
Yeah.
But
it happened with you
above,
recently, actually, with me, where you and I had been talking about doing the show. We've been talking for a few weeks now. And my friend that, we work with all the time, because the United Way in town has a thing called United in Recovery, and they do a lot of thing on harm reduction in town. And we became friends with the girl that heads that up early on. And she's always here. Right now we're putting together like a New Year's Eve sober event here where we're going to be live on Facebook and shit and doing everything. We have live entertainment here and all that. And we always send each other funny memes and shit like on Instagram. And she sent me a fucking reel of you.
Really?
And had no idea, you know what I mean? And like I was like, yeah, he's supposed to do my show like next week. She's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, how do you know? I'm like, we're both from Jersey, so we made friends real fast. Like, because she was on my show in September. Yeah, like a week before my birthday. Yeah, so no shit, she came right before my birthday. Yeah, Olivia is her name. There's only like 4 live interviews I've done. My wife and this girl Olivia, and actually next week all 3 of us are sitting down for, an episode together to talk about stigmas and harm reduction and all that kind of shit. So because obviously it's so funny because the stigmas don't change, right? Like you were talking about it and probably didn't realize it. You mentioned your brother earlier and how you had the stigma against your brother. And in addiction, we had stigmas against each other in addiction where we were like, oh, yeah, he's a junkie, though, because he does that and I do this, so I'm not. And now we're sober and now we're working programs, but the stigmas are still out there because people are like, oh, but you use Matt, you use cannabis. You don't believe in the 12 steps. You don't go to fucking meetings. You don't have a sponsor. You're doing it wrong. It's like, no, all of our addictions look different. So why should all our recoveries look the same? All of our, and I don't mean our addiction substances were different. I mean like they look different. As much as you and I can be alike and have a ton of common, we couldn't be any more different too. Yeah. And that's the whole point of why the recoveries need to be just like, as long as you're happy and your life's not unmanageable, that's all I fucking care about. Come to me and say your life's not, everyone gets caught up on that first part of the first step. Everyone that's not even been through the 12 steps will tell you the first step's admitting it. Fuck off. You don't even know what's after that semicolon then, because that's the most important part of the step to me is that unmanageability. That if my life's unmanageable, then I have a fucking problem. No matter if it's drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, girls, gambling, whatever it is, legal or not legal, frowned upon or not frowned upon. If my life is unmanageable because of it, it's a fucking problem. And I have to try to deal with it.
Right.
It's not always going to be drugs or alcohol. They were the solutions to our problems. We thought that they were the problems, but really we just had real life problems and they were the solution to all of our problems. So now you take them away and we still have real life problems. So you have to be able to get through.
I can agree with you on that, but I also look at it like there's issues that I face on my page because I tend to make a lot of jokes revolving around MAT. A lot of like I personally like what I believe works for me doesn't work for other people. I know people who are on maintenance. I know people who are off maintenance. I know people who do, cannabis therapy. I also know people who were addicted to benzos and opiates, and now they have a prescription for Xanax and they take it as prescribed. That's your life. For me personally, I can't do those things just because I'm not like everybody else. I'm myself, but I try and not sugarcoat things. Like when I'm in meetings, like I'm the person where if I know somebody is on Suboxone or somebody's on methadone, like I don't want you chairing the meeting. Like you shouldn't be speaking in an AA meeting. You shouldn't be doing H&I. But like that's just where I come from
And
in
yeah,
these
and H
meetings
and
and
I,
my personal opinion.
yep, and
It
H and
doesn't
I,
mean
I agree with. H and I
right.
agree with because like I needed what 90 days to be able to go into a hospital and then 5 years to go into an institution. I think that was the rule in my old home group in California.
Yeah, that's
Was
crazy. I think
was
here it's only a year.
okay. It was yeah 9. It was 3 months for a hospital or 5 years for an institution, or maybe it was 3. It was definitely multiple. My home group was in Santa Monica. And I can't remember, like, I don't have any rules for it here at my AA here. We just started the home group here.
Yeah.
So, like, we don't even have a format barely because we literally just started up AA meetings like 2 weeks ago. We're going to do a back to basics in February where I have an old timer going to come in. He's got like 30 some years, and we're going to run through the steps, 3 steps a week, and get the steps done within a month for anybody that wants to come in and do the steps, like a fast version, like the old school way of back to basics. Like I have the format somewhere over here, but yeah, he's a good dude. He's gonna come in, but I'll let you go, man. We'll talk again. Obviously,
Yeah, 100%.
if you don't already follow his socials, I'll drop them in the description. Because you're fucking hilarious. Like I'm always fucking cracking up at your shit. But awesome, man. Thanks again for coming on the show. I know we talked for a while. They're not seeing half the shit we talked about.
Yeah, right.
We'll come back for another time. Plus, guys, we go live all together all the time. Never on like any set times, but whenever I see him live and I'm not doing shit, I'll pop
Yeah.
in and we fuck around and tell stories, and it seems to be funny. People seem to be laughing whenever they're in on our lives together.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll keep fucking around. I appreciate it, bro. Have a good night, man.
All right, you too, JD.
All right, see you later.
Later.